Welcome to our Kabuki theater. Our show is Tsuruku. We dedicate our show to Toshi Ujifusa, whose sweetness made lives of everyone around her delightful, doing just the simple, everyday things. The little girl is Tsuruko. We introduce you now to her wonderful world of woodland creatures, where she plays. Many beautiful creatures live in the woodland area where she plays, and they are gentle, and they are lovely. And this is where Tsuruko spends almost all of her time. Beautiful butterflies, little dragonflies, and fancy ladies from Kyoto who come to see the blossoms all visit this lovely place where our little girl likes to play. There are some annoyances, little bees that buzz around, but even these seem to be funny. And then there are some things that are funny. She loves the birds. Her favorite is the crane. Oh, but who could say which is her favorite, for she loves the silly wading bird. The wading bird is one of the funniest things she's ever seen. Caterpillars come. And oh, her little monkey friend, favorite, she always comes out of the woods for this, is when the frog comes. Frogs are kind of shy, but this one is very amusing. Nabbed another fly. Tsuruko and her monkey around imitating the frog. Oh. Everything seems so perfect. Everything seems so sweet until the other girls come along. When Tsuruko is dancing with her teacher, the crane, she tries to ignore them, but as she dances with her teacher, the beautiful bird, the crane, she can't really overcome how hard it is to be a child who is very different, who is tortured by the other children. And you know, these little girls who are torturing her are actually nice little girls in other ways, and one of them feels bad about this and drags her friend off. But being children, when someone is very different, they don't know what to do, and often they do the wrong thing. So the little monkey chases them away, which wakes up her parents nearby. And their parents come right to where the little turtle is, and they talk about what to do about their lovely daughter, different than the others, who suffers so for lack of friends. For as you will see, when the father goes to touch his daughter to get her attention, she cannot hear him coming. And they have a system worked out whenever he comes up behind and teaches her to enjoy things. For Tsuruko can neither hear nor speak. Only the woodland creatures and her parents are her friends. The Tanaka family has a wonderful tradition. They know that the wealthy people in Kyoto have fabulous tea houses with beautiful garden paths, and that they walk down these paths in their lovely garments and sit and have a quiet ceremonial tea ceremony. The Tanakas have none of these things, but with a simple piece of fruit, they enjoy every smell, and every taste, and every vision. The simplest things in life. And they are a happy family. Although it does grieve the mother to think what will happen as her daughter gets older, since no one in their fishing village will speak to this child. This is their ceremony. They share what for them is a treasure with themselves, and even the shy and mysterious and marvelous crane, the most magical creatures in Japan, comes to their little picnic area. And the mother and father know their daughter is special, for she actually can hand feed the beautiful crane. As is their custom, they go to take a nap. Mrs. Tanaka has a heavy heart, for she knows something must be done for their young daughter. She can feel her own mother's presence coming back from the land of the ancestors. And Tsuruko can feel the presence of the crane as they have their dreams. Cut. Cut. Stop. Dream scene. Be frightened, really act. I want that whole thing to shake. This is Tsuruko's dream. She has this dream often. She crosses a bridge and crosses a river to where 3 phantoms live. The fearful lion, who is so powerful it terrifies her. The mysterious bird, and the fearsome dragon. First, Tsuruko decides, this time I will face the fear. I will find out what is behind this terrifying lion. And with great courage, she goes behind the lion and finds her monkey. And Tsuruko realizes, even though she is small like the monkey, she could take power for herself and perhaps frighten off some of the things she lets the monkey frighten off for her. And suddenly the lion looks like a protector instead of an enemy. And then she turns to the bird, and the bird is the most wondrous creature of all. She sees it in her dreams often. It seems magical. It seems to hold the future, and yet it frightens her. But she takes courage from her little monkey friend and the lion. She goes behind, and she discovers the magical dancing crane. With the crane and the monkey and the lion and the magical bird at her side, she tries to face her greatest fear, the terrifying dragon. And out from behind the dragon come the children who behave hatefully toward her. And Tsuruko cannot face this demon today. And Tsuruko wakes up from her dream and is very, very upset. And her monkey friend comforts her. Mr. and Mrs. Tanaka awaken from their dream and come to where their lovely daughter is. Mrs. Tanaka is visited by her mother's spirit. And her mother's spirit, who would be right behind her at this time, her mother's spirit helps her interpret the dream Mrs. Tanaka had, for she had her own dream. And in this dream, she realizes, unless she does something heroic and makes a big change for her daughter, something she cannot foresee, her daughter will not have a happy life in this small village, for people do not understand her deaf muteness. and they ostracize her and treat her cruelly. Mrs. Tanaka explains this dream to her husband, who is the gentlest and the strongest of men. And he sees her sorrow in her heart and her confusion, and he puts his hand on her shoulder and he tells her, "My dear, we shall journey to the Emperor's palace, and there it will be made clear to us, with your mother's help, what we should do with our dear daughter." So the Tanaka family makes their journey toward the palace. And there are lovely little woodland creatures that they see that remind them of home, and they feel pretty comfortable for people making a life-changing journey. On the other side of the river comes a young couple coming from the city to the country. Let me tell you about this young couple. They are from a good family. They are decent, hardworking young people, people of honor. They opened a shop in Tokyo and were cheated and robbed and beaten and treated most cruelly by the people they sought to help. These are desperate people in hungry times. They have not eaten a long time, and the husband comes up with a terrible plan. He tells his wife, "We will do this thing I have discussed," and it rips her heart, for she is the gentlest and the best of women. But she feels she must do this terrible plan he has in mind, or that they should actually die. He leaves his wife by the stream to pretend that she is in grievous pain, and he himself, a large, strong man, hides behind a craggy tree. The Tanaka family comes by, and little Tsuruko's first impulse is to help, for she looks like a little wounded butterfly. The monkey thinks there's a problem with this scene, but the father wishes to... He would have beaten him up and robbed him, but Mr. Tanaka has the spiritual strength to stop this giant boy and melt him to feel the shame he should for this kind of behavior. And unbelievably, Mr. Tanaka has the spiritual strength to let those young people rise up out of their shame, step across the river with him and his family, and he invites this boy and his young wife to travel with him. And if he senses they have good character, he has offered to take them back with him and work on his farm. They are deeply moved, and the journey becomes full of meaning for everyone as they approach the royal palace. Cut. Last scene. Festival at the Emperor's Palace. They arrived on a most auspicious day for... Sure. It was the Cherry Blossom Festival at the Emperor's Palace, one of the most exciting days of the year, and the Tanakas had never left their fishing village before, so to see this was remarkable. First on this special day, the honorable dance teacher presents her specialty dancers. The first specialty dancer wore a beautiful blue to remind us of the beautiful blue sky in spring. And all people were hushed as she did her solo dance. The next specialty dancer was a young lady who grew up with the emperor's wife, and oh, she was such a truly lovely ruler, so gentle in her nature and so generous in her ways that she actually lends her personal umbrella to her friend as she presents her dance. one more lovely treat awaited us. A beautiful dancer who has been specially trained by the sensei presented her fan dance. Sensei's heart beat wildly like a little bird, and only her parents could know how excited she was to these marvelous things. Then the marvelous Sensei, the dance instructor at the royal palace, presented her company of dancers to the king and queen. These young ladies had been in training for at least a year, living separate from their families and learning to move as gracefully as birds, and they presented their dance. They held their beautiful pose there under the cherry trees, and then they turned to the king and the queen and bowed. And then a most unusual thing happened, which certainly got the attention of everyone in court. The sensei went to the queen in a public forum and was apparently going to ask a personal favor. "My lady," she said, "there is among us a lovely child who can neither hear nor speak, and as you alone know, my queen, I have visited her in the woodlands of our country. I ask you, please, may she join the royal dancers?" The queen took this into her loving heart and turned to her husband, who, unlike other rulers of the day, held his wife in the highest possible esteem and was always very gracious about granting her request. An excitement rushed through the crowd, but you must understand the Tanaka family did not understand what was about to happen. So, the lovely queen herself left the royal dais and approached the Tanaka family. Only Mr. Tanaka had an inkling of what was going on. And he rose and stepped up to greet the queen, bowing before her. Mrs. Tanaka was overcome, for it suddenly dawned on her that what she would have to do for her child she loved more than life was leave her at the royal palace. It had never occurred to her that the sacrifice she would make for her daughter was to leave her in the care of others. The father stepped back and let his wife be touched by this moment. And seeing that the queen was standing waiting, she touched her daughter and said to her, "Little one, you may go." Tsuruko felt a strange affinity for the queen and the dancing teacher, and was remarkably not afraid as she stepped across. She began to dance, and a courtesan brought fans for all of the other dancers to welcome her. They gathered round her and prepared the ceremony that would initiate her into the royal dance. She blooms like a flower. She rises like a butterfly, and the heavens open up for the hope and the promise for those who will take their journey and follow their heart's stream. They turned and bowed to the king and queen. The king and the queen motioned the sensei come forward, the royal teacher, who is, of course, the queen's special agent in the kingdom. And all attending honored the sensei with a bow. Our Kabuki actors honor the audience with a bow. And there was happiness throughout the land. We'd like to thank Mr. Flagel and the high school crew for making this possible.